You can please some of the people some of the time. But I think the most important thing is realizing that you need to please yourself first. Because if you're always last, then resentment builds and you're miserable and you're living a life that you hate, where you're like in a constant tug of war with yourself.
Welcome to Boss Bitch Radio. Today's episode is fantastic. I am actually doing a one-on-one with one of my clients who worked with me. We just got her off stage and you might know her. She's very well known in the health and fitness space, and it's a really fun story how we got to meet. She was a podcast listener and started listening to the podcast probably about 3, almost 4 years ago now, and reached out to me for online coaching. She's a coach herself. She has a very successful coaching practice, coaching business, and we started working together. And so she's been in my life. It's been an amazing journey, and she's always wanted to compete. And it was her coaching experience with me. It was a lot of like, I kind of want to, I don't know if I want to. And then through coaching, I tend to become really close with my clients, right? This is a very personal service that they're hiring me for, and lots of deep conversations that are beyond just the diet and the exercise. And we became friends through our interactions. You know, I send videos to all my clients when I'm working on with them. So it's like we get to know each other. They get to know me. And we've spent time together. She's come out to Vegas and we've trained together and I've posed her, and it's been so much fun. She's staying in Mexico right now. I'm going to go visit her next week to just hang out and just catch up and have girl time. But she's very in line with a lot of the things that I really speak to in terms of mindset and really the entire health and fitness journey. And I knew it would be of great value to have her on the podcast so you can hear from someone who's a mom, right? Something we didn't even get to discuss on the episode was she's a mom of twin girls. Teenage twin girls, right? She's a single mom. She's a nomad. She's a digital nomad. She really just travels and enjoys her life on her speed. And when she finally decided, I said, look, we got to decide. Are we competing or are we not competing? She made it very clear to me that she needed it to feel like it could line up with the way that she lives her life as best as possible. And so we created and curated the plan to make that happen as best as possible. I think we did a pretty fantastic job. She did her first bodybuilding show in Canada. She's Canadian, in a natural show there. And it was a pretty stacked lineup. She ended up with 3rd place in her figure show. So I was very proud of her for that. And she did it, right? And now we're at the back end of her prep and reversing and doing all the things. And so her story is a very wonderful one and her perspectives are fantastic. So I hope you enjoy this episode. You glean some things from it, and let me know what you think over on socials. And you can find all of her social links in the show notes or the description as well if you want to go follow her over on Instagram, and her YouTube is now exploding as well. So, and I think her TikTok as well. So you'll want to go follow Xtine. So enjoy the show. It's a beautiful thing to be able to unapologetically step into that. I think that's something that a lot of women need to do, quite frankly. I mean, my energy is never the same every day. It's never the same. It just depends on, I mean, I don't know how it is for you. It depends on who I interacted with the day before. Did I do a lot of like pouring into others? I find that if I'm doing a lot of meetings with my team, calls with my clients, check-ins and things like that, I'm like wiped mentally just because I'm on high frequency. And then the next day I'm like, the gym was supposed to happen today, but today's going to be yoga and walking and bath and like restorative stuff and creative day, honestly.
Yeah, I find as coaches, it takes a lot of energy, even online, and you have no real in-person interaction with those people.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of energy to give and take care of people and plan for other people and their goals, that sometimes you got to swing back. I need to prioritize and plan for me again. And like, I recharge alone, right? So
Same.
do me. And then I'm mine before I'm anyone else's. So let me fill my cup back up so that I have something to pour out. But that, when you're saying like, were you always this way? No, because as I became more entrepreneurial and left my marriage and all of that, before that, I had a job. Whereas you show up at this time, you work until this time, you do these things, and that was all set out. And I was a good little soldier and people
Mm-hmm.
pleaser and did all the things for everyone else. And it left me miserable and empty. And then, yeah, as I left my marriage and started doing my own thing and being entrepreneurial, then it gave me that freedom. And that's what I was craving my whole life was that the freedom to do what I want and have impact and give in a way that feels good for me. And then there was a phase there too where it was that where you let that when like if I your question about does that drive the type A people in your life crazy? At first, I took responsibility for that too, right? Because the people pleaser and all this stuff, and oh no, I'm making that person feel this way, or I need to commit to what they want to make them happy. And now I swung the other way for a while and pretty much had nobody in my life, like in a consistent in-person basis, all that much. But I feel like almost like a caterpillar turning into a butterfly. There was like a little hibernation period
I love that.
of figuring my shit out. And then I was like, okay, now I can incorporate people as I like to and give where it feels good to give. And even if people are getting upset for that, why don't I help them to figure out why they're getting upset by what I'm doing? Because it really, like, that's for them to work through, I would say, why they're getting upset about it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, one of the things I talk about a lot is, well, with my daughter and I, we talk about just exactly your metaphor is you're kind of like in that weird mushy spot that a caterpillar is in before it becomes a butterfly, when you're just kind of like killing off the people pleasing stuff. And you're just like, oh, I'm showing up for me. I'm doing this for me. Like, I know that I'm better for this. I'm better for the people around me. I can work longer and better when I have the autonomy over my energy and where it's going and who I'm pouring into and who I'm not pouring into. And I mean, this is like catch up, but also like things I wanted to ask you anyways, as far as the
Mm-hmm.
podcast goes, because I think for us, it's really because we know that I feel of service to try to also teach that to my clients, right? Like I know I talked to you about it too, and especially coming out of the show. And so that's really where my curiosity lies, is knowing that this is more of like the way you operate. Like this is just your default and you own that with your chest. You're like, this is how I am. And like my life is meant to also flow with my goals, which I think is amazing. And we've had our fair share of conversations about that as I was like, okay, this is what we got to do. This is the next level. Like for bodybuilding, it's this or that. Did you find the rigidity of bodybuilding kind of push you up against a little bit of resistance with how you live your life?
I would say yes and no, just in a way that I almost like tapered my way into it. I'll say, like at first when I reached out to you, I was like, I'd like to, live a life where I'm structured in the ways that like I could compete and get my physique to a way where it's like I could compete, but I don't actually know that I want to compete. And so as it got closer and closer to the show that I picked, if I was going to do a show, I tightened up the reins more and more. So it wasn't like, when you have a client that's doing like 2,000 steps a day and then they're like, I'm going to do 10,000 tomorrow and I'm going to track all of my food, even though I don't have the first clue about how to do it. But tomorrow I'm going to start doing it. And
Yeah.
I've paid you the money and now it's going to be perfect. I'm going to do the thing and I won't accept anything less. And then the next day they're like, fuck, I'm a piece of shit. I didn't do all the things that I said I was going to do. There's no possible way you can. Like you
Exactly.
can't go from living that life to living the life of the person who has the things that you want, You don't, it's not a light switch where it's like, okay, I'm gonna compete in a bodybuilding show. So from this moment forward, I will behave in the exact way of like what my life would be like the day that I step on stage. I don't have those rituals and habits yet. I need to build them. So I
But real quick,
tapered my way up to it.
yes, do you feel like you've ever sort of were hard on yourself if you weren't going all or nothing, right? Like, were you okay, like kind of leaning into this attitude on days where I was like, this is what needs to get done. Like, you need to have this many steps, have the plan. And it just like didn't jive, didn't gel, life happened, whatever.
Yeah, I was okay with it because I've gotten to a place where it's like this is the life that I want to live. Like I value being able to travel. I value freedom. I value spending time with my kids as much as I value spending time away from my kids. And so on the days where it was like, well, like I had like the minor surgery, for example, and then I couldn't do the steps that I needed to do or work out for a couple days. So instead of beating myself up about things that, well, that was out of my control anyways, but sometimes life is lifing, right? And it bitch slaps you in the face. And if you're gonna want it to be different, it's like you're suffering for your own, like just for the sake of suffering. Why? And nobody's gonna die. I'm gonna do the best that I can. And beating myself up for something that like it's just I don't know, it's just suffering. And I used to do that and I've seen where that gets me and it's not good. So I've gotten to a place of acceptance of what is instead of wishing it were different or the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, because you didn't and you maybe couldn't for whatever reason. And so as long as you're doing the best that you can in progressing towards whatever goal. Like there's no point in beating yourself up when, okay, well, today I couldn't do 10,000 steps. Cool. What can I do to make the next 24 hours a little bit better than this 24 hours in some capacity?
Where do you think women get it wrong besides this all or nothing thinking? I mean, specifically when it comes to, I know we touched on it a little bit where you said like, you know, some people start a program and they want to go from 2,000 steps to 10,000 steps. But I think if we steer the conversation more towards women like us who are running our own businesses, right? We're coaches for other people. And we also sometimes neglect our own self-care, right? Like it's just the nature of the beast. We're passionate about what we do. You have a lot of people probably pulling at you as your platforms have grown. And I think the message for the leaders out there for me is you have to take care of your own energy, right? Like how you're saying, you really have to manage your own energy. And so what I'm talking about a lot lately on the podcast is part of that is getting really real with yourself and saying like, am I being too hardcore, right? Am I trying to live like a bodybuilder? That's not realistic. That's not my goal. I shouldn't be eating tilapia and asparagus, right? So really just kind of bringing that full circle to the women who are really trying to make change in the world, leaders, coaches, and also knowing that whatever they're telling their clients, they need to model for themselves to some degree, right? Like you want to be walking the talk, but really like, what do you see a lot of high performing clients on your end struggle with, right? Like recurring problems.
Man, there's so many.
What are the top three that scream at you?
I think the whole, what we were talking about before, like the people pleasing, like you won't please everybody all the time. You can please some of the people some of the time. But I think the most important thing is realizing that you need to please yourself first. Because if you're always last, then resentment builds and you're miserable and you're living a life that you hate where you're like in a constant tug of war with yourself of what you actually want to accomplish. And I think the thought of you can be anything you want, but you can't be everything that you want at once is a huge thing because often we'll have goals that are opposites of each other. And that's where I mean, like the tug of war thing. You can't, if my goal is to be a bodybuilder and like step on stage, that's going to sacrifice in a lot of other areas. So if I have a goal of being a bodybuilder and at the same time, I want to continue to expand our clients and business. And at the same time, I want to work on my relationship with my children and being an amazing mother and spending time with them. Like all of those things are different plants to water in your life. And you can't do all of them all of the time at once, or you'll do all of them shitty. And so what is your main focus in that season of your life? And do you have the ability to communicate that with the people in your life so that it's clear and okay and it doesn't feel like you're trying to please all of the people? Example, before I started prepping for the bodybuilding show, and I talked to my kids about this for years, probably prior. I mean, how many times did I say to you, like, I should compete? No, I don't want to. Yeah, I want to. No, I don't want to.
I'm like, Christine, we need your whole ass, not half of it.
Yeah. And I think even that was part of like tapering up to it,
Absolutely.
Right? Like I said, even when I committed to prep, it was still like a taper. I talked with my girls and I was, playing with the idea of it. And I was very open with them of I'm not going to have as much time for you guys. Like, I'm probably going to be spending, especially towards the end of the prep, I have to be in the gym 2 or 3 times a day for an hour or two or five at some points, depending on the day. And, travel time there and back and showering and blah, 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 and food prep and all of the things. Like, it's a lot. And so if I didn't say to my kids at that point, or even accept within myself, I'm not going to have as much time. I cannot commit to being an all-star mom of the year right now if I'm prioritizing this goal for me. And I think for a lot of women, also the thought of being selfish creeps in. And I don't think that being selfish is a bad thing. Obviously, you have to take care of the other people in your life too, in whatever capacity, whether it's clients or family or friends, whatever, and like water that plant a little bit. But even in business, like with my business partner, when I started prep, we had the conversation of what that's going to look like for me as far as my time towards the business versus for me, technically for prep, it likely did help the business in some capacities too. But that, like, you have to be authentic and have those conversations with the people in your life and be able to prioritize with yourself too. This is the goal. And so these other areas might decline or suffer a little bit. You only can water one plant or focus on watering one, right? To get that one to grow. Agreed. So that one gets all the fertilizer and the water, and then the other ones get kind of like the minimal effective dose to manage or to keep them somewhat alive. So I think a lot of women won't have those conversations. They aren't clear also in what they want specifically and won't go after that. Maybe fear of, what if I have this conversation with this person and then they leave or they don't like it? Fear of, can I even commit to the said whatever the big goal is that I want? There's so much I could rant and ramble for hours.
This is great. This is exactly what I was trying to get to the heart of, which I'm hearing a lot of. You're going to have to overcome, if you have children, you're going to have to overcome mom guilt, right? There's a deep mom guilt that comes with knowing that you're actually putting yourself on the front burner to do this thing and take care of yourself. I see it time and time again. I mean, I'm definitely a victim of this myself. So I would love to know how you feel, if that has ever come up for you. And if it does, how do you sort of recalibrate? And the other thing I'm hearing is this takes a lot of communication. It's a lot of communicating to the people that are in your direct energy field all the time, that you have a lot of interaction with. And the other thing is, I'd be curious if you felt like you had to do a little bit of an audit of your life and delegate more things, delete some things that maybe you were doing, because I know your social media presence has definitely boomed. And with that, I can only imagine how that to-do list feels never ending, right? So I know there's a lot there. So whatever sticks out, go ahead and feel free to pepper it with your thoughts.
Yeah, I was like, I should have been writing notes.
It's okay.
While you were talking.
I try not to, because I really want to just like be present and get all the juicy stuff, but I can always recalibrate. And yeah.
I think a lot of women won't say shit, even if their mouth is full of it, as in they're afraid to say the thing. Like, when you get that in your throat and you have to do like a harsh swallow.
Yeah.
Or like this, you get sweaty palms and you don't want to say the thing to the person. Say the thing. Like, if it's something that you need to say to communicate, say the thing. You'll feel so much better. And the first time it might be super scary. And then afterwards you're like, oh, cool. Nobody abandoned me. My thing is like fear of abandonment, big time. More so, used to be. Now I understand that people come and go and yeah. But if you're not willing to say the thing, that keeps you so stuck. And again, back to like living the life of resentment, and you're miserable because you just won't speak your needs. And that, again, going back to fear, you're afraid if I communicate this and if I prioritize this thing, then maybe this person won't treat me the same, or they'll think that I'm not cool anymore, or I won't fit in with these people. And you know what? Maybe those just weren't your people. And if you're willing to say the thing, then you're going to live the life that you want to live, because at the end of the day, like, it's your life. That is really the only thing that matters. And that might sound also like a shitty thing to say, but you're the star of the show. I'm not saying like the world revolves around me and that kind of aspect, but it's your life. So why are you not living the one that you want to? And if you say the thing and the person leaves, cool. That person didn't accept you for authentically who you are in that part of your life anyways. maybe when you met that person, you were someone else and everything was great. But then we value time invested in people and relationship, and we won't just move forward with ourselves because we are like, well, my life will change. And then if this person isn't there and all the things, then what will my life be like? And then you have the fear of the unknown, right? And yeah, that I feel like just communicating and saying the thing and being okay with the outcome, not being attached to needing it to be a certain way. That's what keeps us stuck. Like instead of living in the moment and honoring like the season and the time that you're in, like, this was what got me into like a marriage that I probably shouldn't have been in for as long as I was. Like, I won't say I shouldn't have been in it because obviously it served me and him. So we're both better versions of ourselves now. But the whole where you're raised is a huge thing too. Like what is the mindset of the people around you? What your parents have taught you, all of these things were conditioned to be a certain way. And for me, it was like, you do really good in school, you're, a high performer, you're all of the things, you graduate, you get a job, you find a husband, you buy the house, you get married, you have the kids. And I never even stopped to question. I just was like on the conveyor belt of life, checking off what I thought it was supposed to be until I think I became more self-aware that I didn't actually enjoy those things. Like, not in the ways that I saw the people around me supposedly enjoying it. Who knows? Maybe they're miserable too. I would just won't admit it. I don't know. But I woke up one day and I was like, what am I? I'm miserable.
What was the
pleasing everyone except myself.
What was the breaking point for you? If you don't mind me asking, if you don't mind sharing. Because one of the questions I was going to ask you, and this maybe ties into it a little bit, is if you've ever in your journey, I'm assuming you've had, because I know I have, and I think that, like you were talking about, sort of the evolution of really discovering what's important to you is doing an audit, even though you don't know you're doing an audit about the people that you're spending time with.
Yeah. And that what you said there, like, even though you don't do an audit, I think eventually you become aware that you are doing an audit.
Yes.
And then you start to look at like what feels good for me and what doesn't. And then as you become more self-aware and even just more open to being self-aware without feeling shitty about it, like, this is what I like and that's what I don't like. Like, that doesn't make me feel good. This does make me feel good. How can I move to more of this and less of that in my life? And then eventually you actually do those audits. One of the challenges that I like to do with clients to like help them with that self-awareness is a 30-day journaling challenge. And it's interesting when you tell someone to meditate or journal, it's interesting to see their reaction. And I love to do it on Zoom because sometimes like over text or whatever, there's no tone, there's no body language. So it's sometimes hard to tell is this client actually going to do this, or are they like rolling their eyes so hard they saw their brain, right? Like, and so when you say to someone like journal or meditate, they're like, yeah, I tried that one time and it didn't help. So what else can I do?
Yeah.
It's like, no, you've got to build your self-awareness. What do you actually want? What are your needs? What brings you joy? What do you want less of? So I'll do like a 30-day journaling challenge with them where it's just 3 questions, because I think when people think about journaling, they think, dear diary, today I blah, 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 blah. But 3 things. What went well today and what brought me joy? What didn't go well? And what do I want less of in my life? And then what did I learn today? Whether it's just something I learned or something I learned about myself. 30 days. Those are the only 3 things. I even tell them, put your journal on your pillow, because when you lay your ass down at night, you're going to have to pick that journal up. And then write your things, put it on your bedside table while you sleep. When you get up in the morning and make your damn bed like a human.
Who doesn't? I can't with that. It makes me crazy.
You put the journal back on the pillow. And then that's the cue of, okay, at the end of the day, 30 days. And then at the end of the 30 days, you plan a nice little date with yourself. Maybe you sit down and get one of your Frappalapa Ching Chong Dinos that you enjoy.
I call them mocha cappuccinos.
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
You sit in a nice little cafe or somewhere with good energy that you enjoy, and you just review the last 30 days. And then you write about what the overall arching theme is. Because that way, if you just journal one day and then say it didn't work, of course it didn't. Like it's a dot. When you can sit down and connect the dots, you can see the pattern instead of one dot. What's one dot going to do for you? Look at the overall pattern of you and your life and what you like and what you don't like, and look at all the things that you've learned over the last 30 days and like use that as your North Star where you want to head, and be okay with it instead of like having shame or thinking you're weird for wanting something that you want.
I think those three questions are fantastic because it really gets to the heart of so much, and it gives you a lot, honestly, to reflect on. And it doesn't need to be a novel. It could be a few sentences. It could be chicken scratch notes, just single words. I mean, just really getting shit out of your head onto paper. I'm curious, has journaling always been something that you valued? And like, what kind of role does it play for you now? Because I know it's something I value tremendously. And I see a trend for a lot of women who really think sort of at the forefront of their energy that journaling is incredibly important as a piece of that for sure.
Yeah. It never used to be. The last 4 or 5 years, it was and comes in cycles, more so as a tool. So when I say it never used to be, it's because I was, the mindset, I'm busy. I don't have time. How am I going to add something else in? I don't have the time to sit and write a page about bullshit, Dear Diary.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. All of that
all
shit. Yeah. In my head. And then eventually, as I became, more self-aware, I used it as a tool. And especially like leaving my marriage and all of that, when I was going through like the thick of when life was really life and I was in the weeds, there's so much in your head that you don't even know what's what. And so for me, getting that out onto paper was huge in like taking the pressure off. It's like opening the pressure valve and just like moving it out of my body and onto paper. And then it was there. And I used to write for a while, I was writing pages of stuff it was either late at night or early in the morning when the monkey mind and all the shit in your head and even like the limiting beliefs and stuff like that, like get them out and onto paper, and then looking at, okay, what's actually true in this and what's the story I'm telling myself, whether it's keeping me stuck or whatever. And now more so, I'm really good at having those conversations in my head with myself and filtering through what's reality and what isn't. An example, the other morning, when I've been wanting to do a lot of surfing, and the other morning I set to go surfing at 6 a.m. and I went down there. The sun rises just after 6 here, so it was still dark out, and I was enjoying the peacefulness and walk down to the beach, hear the ocean waves, and the sun's just starting to come up over the mountains, and I was looking out at the waves and I was like, oh shit, those are big. And then I started thinking to myself, because my surf instructor, he's sober, which you don't find many of here, and he was willing to come at 6 a.m. and was excited about it. You don't find that much either here. So I was like, and he also is a man of his word and integral. And if he's going to be late, it's not like Mexican time. He's like, yeah, he'll text me ahead of time and be like, oh, I'm going to be like 5 minutes late. And then he's not late anyways. But so in that moment, I was hoping that he was not a man of his word, because I looked at the waves and I was like, shit, those are big.
Yeah.
And I was afraid. And I was like, I don't want to. So then I had the conversation with myself of, you're being an idiot right now. You do want to. You're afraid. So let's work through it. And like, what's the minimal effective dose, or like, what is a win for you in this moment? Because obviously I'm not going to get out there and be a pro surfer. I'm not a strong swimmer. And that's also why I was afraid. So for me, in my head at that moment, I was like, okay, just getting out and paddling, like out to the break and getting past this fear of those waves I'm going to die out there. That was a win for me. And I went out there, I did a bunch of turtle rolls and like got my ass handed to me, but I had a shit-eating grin on my face the whole time because I worked through my mindset. And even there's so much like metaphors in this for life, because there's waves coming at you and they're breaking in front of you. So the only thing that you can do in that moment is flip your board over and go underneath, so the wave passes over you and then come back up. And I think that's like such a metaphor for life even too. Instead of being stressed out, like worrying and over and anxious about something that's coming at you, quote unquote, breathe, do what you need to do in the moment. But if you're stressing about it, you're going to drown. you're going to wear yourself out because you're fighting the inevitable. Like it's going to come and it's going to be what it'll be, but how can you best handle the situation? And if you're stressed and anxious and overthinking, you can't show up as your best self because you've got all that shit in your head and you can't even think clearly. So it's like flip the board over, duck, flip it back over, look up and like see, okay, where am I? What's coming next? Where do I go from here? What's the next step? And so like that, just getting out there was a win for me. And then I had like other wins along the way too that were even better. But if I'd let the fear and the bitch in the brain or Felicia, Bertha, whatever, tell me, because I even thought of saying to him, like, I'm not feeling well. I was going to text him and be like, oh my God, I'm not feeling well. I'm going home.
Oh, so I feel like really the take home is like journaling has really helped you have an awareness around your thoughts and what comes up when you're in the moment of things, right? And you're being present and something comes before you. I mean, I know for me, and I don't know if you find this to be true, because you had said journaling for you kind of comes like in cycles, right? Mm-hmm. And I've been journaling since I was 10 years old and it started as Dear Diaries, right? And so off and on since then, it has been an incredible tool. But what I have found for myself is when I kind of slip away from my own inner compass, and one of the things that starts to fall away is my journaling practice too, right? I kind of get further and further away from it. And then I start to notice a resistance almost to sitting down and journaling because I know that I'm going to be met with truth that I need to work, right? And
look in the mirror.
Yeah, like I just got the chills even saying that out loud because it's a reality. And the reason why I share that is because I know I talk a lot about it because I know how valuable it's been for myself. And I'm always curious if other people feel that. But to your point, when you said, people are like, oh, I tried journaling for one day or I tried meditation. And I'm like, it's a muscle you have to work. You have to do the reps, right? When you get in the gym, it's fucking messy. Like, you don't know what you're doing.
And show up authentically in it too. Instead of like that, what you said about, I'm going to be met with truth. Yeah. Matt, that holds us back so much in life too. Going back to things that hold us back. How many clients have you had that won't log their food or won't log it accurately? Like I ate the cake, but actually like I just ate broccoli and chicken today and I don't know why I'm not making progress.
Yes.
Because you won't be truthful with yourself. You won't look at it. And is it because you feel shame or like what? Like that's yours to work through. Do the work so you can show up authentically without judgment and shame. And when you can accept the truth about yourself and know that like, yeah, you're the problem, then you have the power to make the change. But until you're like rounding off the corners of the jagged pieces, the puzzle is not going to fit together.
Yeah, it absolutely isn't. The work has to be done or you just live in that loop. And it sounds like you probably had some of this early on and you've worked through it yourself. And I'm also very interested when I meet other like-minded women who are really just always working on protecting their energy, but in a way that like isn't necessarily meeting hustle culture status and all this. It's like on your timeline is if this is something that is more like nature or nurture, right? Like how was it growing up? I mean, is this something that you feel was sort of a standard that you saw in your household? Because I know for myself was not at all. And I feel like it's really lit me up in terms of trying to change generational patterns for my kids because I wasn't raised being taught the value of journaling and self-care and energy management, not saying yes to everything and people pleasing. You get where I'm going with that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a both and. It's not like a either or. There's aspects of both in there. There's the nature aspect of, the household you grew up in, where you were born, your family's like financial situation, like all of these things is going to raise a child differently with a different set of viewpoints and the way that the world works. And if you just accept it as that, and you aren't willing to think outside of the box and live authentically, then you're going to stick with that aspect, right? But if you go into the nurture side of it, where it's like, I can take what I learned from that, like work ethic was huge. Nutrition and taking care of yourself and processing your emotions was not huge.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So
I could resonate.
Work ethic. I have an amazing work ethic, but I also have this thing that I've worked through with like the perception of laziness.
Oh, I was just going to ask
because
I was taking a note.
Yeah.
That's the thing too, right? My dad's like, you need 2 jobs and you need to be working 60
Yeah.
hours a week, like this whole thing. And I'm just like, trying doing that as an entrepreneur just led to massive burnout for me.
Yeah, exactly. And so, what can I take from the nature aspect of it and how I was raised and circumstances and all of those things? And then, how can I take the nurture aspect and what do I actually want to, what kind of life do I want to live? What kind of impact do I want to have? What kind of health do I want to have? What are the things I enjoy doing? And then, how can I combine those two things together to build a life that feels good for me and the people around me versus, well, no, like this is how we do it and this is how it's supposed to be. But you have to be willing to, accept what is before you can change it. And even for me with that whole like work ethic thing and then like perceived laziness, if I didn't work through what my things were around that, I probably wouldn't be successful because I'd be burnt out because you can only will your way through so much without, filling back up and recharging. And so you need to have, even if you look into like, this could be a whole other conversation, but like
Yeah.
masculine versus energy or feminine energies and where, you naturally kind of go to, being an entrepreneur is a lot more of a masculine energy and like work ethic and all of that it's like willing your way through it, like shut up and do it, grind, just go, we don't care, go. Whereas feminine is more playful and flowy and creative and that kind of thing. And so you need to have both in some sort of balance, and sometimes it might be more willful and sometimes it's more playful and creative. And again, if you can't work with that, if you don't have the awareness to realize where am I being too like shut up and just do it, or where do I need to be more shut up and do it, and where am I being too much like flowy and it doesn't really matter and you're more complacent and that, and where am I that too much and where am I not that enough, like where am I not giving that to myself?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely could say that I've had seasons of both, but more so erring on the side of the masculine energy, which I definitely feel is sort of caught me into some spots where I'm just like, okay, this is too much, right? I can't breathe. It feels overwhelming. The thin inside of me is just like, we can't sustain this. Like, this is not something that is manageable. But knowing yourself is really important through that, right? And also for me is just like making sure I'm not forcing things just for people pleasing, right? Oh, well, this is just how I've always showed up, so I need to continue. So yeah, I mean, I think you're spot on when it comes to trying to find that balance. And what do you feel contributes to you kind of having that balance, especially with sort of the audience that you have now and all of the growth that you've seen, honestly, because it's quite remarkable. And we might just want to touch on that for a second, right?
Yeah, I think just it's acceptance of self and being able to show up authentically. And like, even if you look at social media, for me for a long time, it's like, well, what if I show up as me? And then, you get the keyboard warriors and whatnot on social media, just say shit that they would not say to you in person if they were standing in front of you. Or, I mean, I don't know how they were raised if they are willing to say that shit in front of you. But yeah, being able to accept yourself and just work through that. And maybe it's exposure therapy too, and even like tapering yourself up to it. Because if you're not willing to accept yourself for who you are, it's always going to keep you stuck because you're going to be fearful of somebody else judging you or saying something. And then if you take that to heart and you take that as truth, then you're going to sit back down instead of standing up. What is it, like the nail that sticks out is the one that gets hammered? It's like, oh no, I just want to be like everyone else and blend in. But like, if everybody else is doing it, that's a good reason for you not to do it, unless you want to be like everybody else. And some people do want to be like everybody else because they feel like they won't fit in. But I'm like, man, if you want to lead, go first. If you want to actually have impact and help people, you have to be the one that's willing to just show up authentically and no fear of judgment or whatnot, because you accept yourself as you are. And even if you say to me, whatever, like, you're too fat to be a fitness trainer, because that used to be the thing that I got, it only affects you if you believe that about yourself.
Yeah.
Like if that is your limiting belief, of course you're going to take it like a shot straight to the chest. But if you don't believe that about yourself, then it doesn't matter because it's not true.
So
So
you
it's the
handle
things
that
that
pretty
we
well,
feel
do you
about
feel like?
ourselves. At this point, yes.
Yeah.
Then I would be lying if I said like I wasn't like crying in the shower at some points because I was like, oh, I'm too fat to be a fitness trainer. But it's like that awareness about it. And then if I truly do think I'm too fat to be a fitness trainer, we'll roll with that one. Do something about it. You know, if that obviously you're not happy in that area, then so that's going to take a little bit of focus and work because that's something that you don't feel good about. And so now, like anything someone said to me, I don't care. There's so many comments about my eyelashes. Like you can't please everybody all the time. And whether I have fake eyelashes or not doesn't matter to me. And it shouldn't really matter to anybody else. But you got people in the comment section that are like, just something about ugly eyelashes when I have like my lashes done. And now that I don't have them done, you get people that are like bitching that I don't have them done. You can't please everybody all the time. But am I good with myself? Yes.
Yeah.
If I wanted my eyelashes, I'll go get some fake eyelashes and feel better.
Exactly. No, I feel like we've had this conversation before, but really, I think because people ask me that too, and I don't nearly get as much as I can imagine that you probably do with your following, but I do get the occasional, oh, you look like a man, you should have never lifted weights, right? Like your voice has changed, all these things. I'm like, I'm very transparent about the fact that I did steroids. I'm not one of these people that's, out there claiming that they didn't. Like it's definitely been part of my journey. But I think the bigger takeaway here is something that I heard, I believe it was probably like Gary Vee or somebody say, and they were saying, the people that are doing that, like clearly they have their own set of issues. If they are comfortable, like you said, like how were you raised? Like you're going to say that to somebody online, but in the next breath for me, it's really the people that are doing that are usually not doing things in the world. Because
you're never going to get shit on by somebody that's ahead of you.
Yeah. The people like we're trying to do good and we're creating content, we're helping people and really trying to get our life's work out there. Those I'm not sitting around trolling people's YouTube and Instagram and just being like, oh, let me go leave a comment on, Shalene Johnson's stuff and just tell her she's terrible. Right. Like that's so exhausting to me. So for me, it's like, like you said, they could say what they want, but I'm literally not going to lose any sleep over that. Zero, zilch.
I'm at that point in my life right now too, but it comes with acceptance of self, right? Like it's not going to bother you unless you have some sort of fear or like some sort of issue with it where you believe it true about yourself, or you have some kind of like you're not okay with the decision that you made or something like that. Like I have people, same thing, like you look like a man. Okay, well, what does a man's body look like? Muscular, like that's what I go to. You have a bigger upper body, you have a more defined upper body. Usually men are designed in evolution to be the hunter-gatherers, and women are generally more soft and, nurturing and cuddly and mothery. So does my body look more muscular than soft? Yes. Is this person right in what they're saying? Yeah, sure. My body maybe looks more like a man's body because a man's body is generally more muscular. Do I have a vagina? Yes, I'm still a female.
So that's all that matters at the end of the day, right?
Exactly.
Well, I mean, I know we spent a lot of time on really juicy stuff, but I think just to kind of full circle, really what I wanted to get out of this conversation was, I mean, obviously a lot of this, which was great, but we met through the podcast. You put your headphones in one day, went for a walk, heard my podcast, and then eventually we started working together, which is awesome. And we've been trying to get you on stage because it was something that you were really curious about. So I would love for you to just, if you can walk us through what that felt like for you, maybe what you expected versus what the process ended up being for you, really overall, just summing it up.
Yeah. Oh man, when I look back and even in this moment, I'm like, I don't know that I ever actually thought I would do it. Even now, I'm like, wow, that's really cool. You did the thing you said that you were going to do. And I feel like that's such a big aspect of my values is like being integral. And like, if I'm doing something and I'm putting my name on it, it's going to be to the best of my ability. And so that's kind of what kept me from committing to competing before, because I knew in that like deep down inside, I wasn't going to do the thing. I thought it was a cool idea. I liked the idea of it, but also I didn't have the discipline. And also I wasn't at a place in my life where I could actually commit to doing it.
Because it's a lot.
And yeah, it is, as I found out. But yeah, looking back, it's like, wow, you did the thing. And then, you go, oh, man, I could talk about it for a year. And I know we've sent lots of voice notes and whatnot of the aftermath and everything. But it was very cool to see myself looking back, run the play and be okay with it to the best of my ability. And the evolution and the effort that I put in I've walked in heels like twice in my life. And so to get on stage wearing huge heels. And I think one of the things I said to you too, when I was like, help me pose, like I feel more in alignment with a cardboard box than I do a dancer. And so working through like that and all of the limiting beliefs in my head that were preventing me from doing it before. And that one being a big one in the initial moment, like back in October, whenever it was, when I was like, I should compete. And you were like, don't tempt me with a good time on Saturday night.
Oh yeah.
Or morning,
We said, let's
whatever
go.
it was.
It must have got you at the right moment. I was like, she's feeling it. We're going. Cause we tried. I mean, you'd said like, I want to look like a competitor. And I was like, Xtine, listen, I've heard this a time or two. Okay. Unless you fucking commit, cause you realize like, do you think if you wouldn't have committed to a bikini show or a competition that you would have been able to sustain like how hard we drilled down for just to look good, just to look like a competitor, right?
No, like in the moment, I probably would have told myself yes.
For sure.
And then it would have just fallen apart like slowly over time. Because looking back now, even like let's say even 8 weeks out from the show, when I look back at it now, I'm like, shit, I was like, and I've gained my stage weight was what 142, and like this morning I was 161 or something like that, and it was only a month and a bit ago. So, and yes, like the last, whatever, 5-6 pounds of weight loss in the last peak week there was mostly inflammation and whatnot. Like you're not getting fat loss at that point.
Correct.
So I was very well aware that was going to come back. Like it wasn't just going to leave. But looking back to like 8 weeks out and the level of leanness I was, even compared to now, and I was probably around the same weight, maybe 5 pounds-ish less. And like what I was doing at that point to achieve that versus how I actually would desire to live my life on a day-to-day basis. If you don't have the end goal to commit to. And part of the whole, I told the people now that I'm doing this and I've like registered for the show and I invested in the coaching and the posing coach and the bikini, which is the most expensive outfit I own.
Yeah, absolutely.
With the least material, I wouldn't have done it. It would have tapered off.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I know. And I remember a conversation and me just saying like, we got to rip the Band-Aid, right? Like we got it, it's when you hold your feet to the fire, it's like, okay, now I'm to that point where like I'm all in. Like it's definitely happening. It could be scary to do that because then you're like, okay, I can't which at any time you could back out, right? It's really your choice. But I think because value being people of our word and like leading by example and showing up as we say we're going to show up, it was like when you said the thing, then it's like game on.
Yeah. And I wanted, again, I wanted to bring the best that I could. And I think in all the other years that we've known each other, when I've toyed with the idea, I knew deep down inside, I wouldn't stay committed to it because I could and then I felt like I finally was in a place where I could do the best that I could do and commit to it the best that I could and be okay with the outcome, whatever it was. Like for me, just like going back to surfing, the win that day was getting into the water. The show was like getting onto the stage. I didn't care. And I remember you said at one point, doing a natural show, there might only be like 2 other people that you're competing against. And I was like, and what? That didn't matter to me. Yeah, I was like, oh, well, then I have a better job of at least getting third, I guess.
Yes. Great attitude.
But for me, it was just getting onto the stage was the win. And staying committed and building the discipline and doing the best that I can. And accepting it for what it is, not wishing it was any different. Like, oh, if I would have not ate those 3 protein bars that day, if I wouldn't have had that accident, like maybe I would have won. It is what it is. You can't go back and know if it was going to be any different. You cannot reverse the time. So just accepting I'm going to do the best that I can and I'm going to go through with the goal and ended up with 2/3 and a first. So, I mean,
Okay.
that was a bonus win,
Yeah.
just like, surfing, getting up on the waves was the bonus win. Like, you have to lower the bar of expectation a little bit to get yourself to commit to do the thing. And then whatever above that is just extra gravy, right?
Yeah. And I feel like that's a great attitude to have as an athlete, quite frankly, because, well, at least in this sport, I'll speak for bodybuilding, because you never know who's going to show up. You never know how they're going to show up. It is always changing, right? Like some girls get really attached to the idea, like if they do really good at one show, that they want to jump over to nationals or try to get their pro card. And I always tell them, those
Not
people,
me. I didn't do that.
but my thing is, like, one thing that you have to realize is, like, those people likely aren't going to be the same ones that show up at the next show. So then you really have to say, well, am I in a position, if winning is really the goal, or getting a pro card, or, really getting competitive about it, how important is that to you? Right. And I know we've had those conversations too. And it sounds like you don't have regrets per se, but is there anything you feel like you would have done differently in hindsight? Right. Because I know we've talked about doing another show, but if that were to be the case, do you feel like there's anything you would have done differently, and like how you approached it, maybe your mindset or any of it, honestly?
You mean after the show?
Yes.
Or
if you were to go back and do another prep, is there anything that you would do differently?
I don't think so, because like I literally did the best that I could with what I had and the energy levels. And sometimes I think you got to know where you're stepping over $100 bills to pick up pennies, and like where are you actually in diminishing returns. And I was very open with myself in the awareness around that. Like, where am I just losing ground? If I force myself at 11 p.m. to go finish my cardio session and I only get 3 hours of sleep and I get up the next day because I have all these other responsibilities in my life, like, is that going to be just so I can check the box? Yes, I did the thing, but now I'm suffering and paying for it the next day. And my workout is shit and I'm a bitter asshole because I haven't slept properly and I'm hating myself for making myself go do it last night, like all these things. So no, I wouldn't. I feel like I did the best that I could with what I had. And the win for me was getting on stage, and I got to a level of leanness that I've never done before. And that was also part of the win. And I think the biggest win of it all was knowing that I have the capacity, proving to myself that I have the capacity to do the thing. And then that just like, like what you can achieve, and actually the discipline that you have, what you're capable of, I'll say. And it's like, I don't know, do you have to prove it to yourself or not? I wanted to. It was cool. I did the thing. And yeah, the aftermath, I guess, a little bit was interesting, I'll say.
Yeah. I feel like this is a good segue into this piece of the conversation, because my next question was really going to be, what have you found throughout the experience that was what you didn't expect, or the hardest?
Yeah, I think thinking prior of that, you're not going to have any body dysmorphia afterwards. Like after achieving that level of leanness, I'll be fine. Or like I'll maintain close to, or like all of these things and expectations that we have. But again, like if I needed it to be that way, and that was my expectation of what it should be, and it didn't happen, then I'm suffering for the sake of suffering. I was expecting it to be something, and then now it isn't. And so why not just be kind to myself and accepting of how it did play out, and then I can make moves from there, versus beating myself up because I'm 20 pounds heavier than I was on stage day and I don't have abs on a day-to-day basis anymore. But guess what? I have my period back. Like, my nails are growing nicely. So
I love it.
I feel stronger in the gym, like all of those things, instead of being like, well, I don't have abs.
Yes, that is the trade-off. And I know we've had a lot of little back and forth conversations right after show, because that part's very difficult. I feel like it's a very delicate time because of exactly what you're saying, right? Just that struggle with, I remember you asking me, do you think I could maintain this level of leanness? And I'm like, yeah, probably not. I didn't say it like that, but that's how I wanted to say it.
Yeah, you were a little bit more graceful and tactful in your delivery.
You were sensitive.
You didn't need to be.
Yeah, I know. But I was like, it's a fragile time right now. Let's get through it.
I appreciate the truth though. And I appreciate someone delivering the truth to me and accepting it, then like being lied to, I'll
Right.
say. I know it's not a lie, but like, well, the truth was bent, I'll say,
Yes.
in what
Yes.
is like actually the other person's thought process. Like, I would rather just have like no, hell no, you're not going to, and just be okay with that. And
Noted.
then maybe prove them different. Then,
But I always
then
know
just be
that's your
like,
MO.
oh, maybe.
I know you very well. I'm like, I'm going to tell her something and she's going to be like, watch me. I remember distinctly when you asked me, can I swim for cardio? And I was like, how do I say this?
You should have just said no. Like, yeah, you can do that.
I was like, yeah.
Maybe.
So yeah, no, good times, good times. Anything else I missed that you would love to just kind of share? I mean, I love these moments where somebody who was a listener, like forever ago, and it ends up in my life. And now I'm coming to visit you in Mexico next week. Like, this is amazing. So much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know.
Well, share your
I do
platforms. I
think
think
it's
that's
like,
important, just share where people can find you. Cause I know this episode is going to definitely put people in a space of wanting to figure out where they can find you if they don't already. We have a lot of crossover too. And then one little like soundbite I would love to know is just let the women of the world know really what the feeling is that you're usually chasing when you wake up every morning.
that's a good one. Well, I'm almost like I'm the worst at sharing my social media, but it's Xtine Cardenas on pretty much everything.
I'll link it up everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. And what do I want the women of the world to know? I think just like show up for yourself, is you're the only one who's going to. Like, nobody else is coming. Nobody's coming to save you. And I think that we're raised as women to like be smaller, eat less, take up less space. And I feel like everyone should just do the opposite. If you focus on more, like eat more whole foods, get more muscle on your body instead of like trying to be less, you just naturally show up as more. And I think that's like, you asked, what's the feeling I'm chasing? I think that's it. Like, progress makes me happy. That's what keeps me going on a day-to-day basis. And like, more skill acquisition, whatever, life acquisition, like more, there's always another level of you available, and figure out how you can challenge yourself in this like 24-hour block, stack it on top of the last one, and move yourself towards whatever it is that you want to achieve.
Beautifully
Also,
said.
what do you actually want to achieve? Get clear on that so that you have somewhere to go to.
Right. You need a destination, and it doesn't need to be very far. Sometimes it needs to be the next tiny step over, and that forward momentum is everything. And I think that's something that you and I value, is waking up and chasing a feeling, which means we're feeling on integrity with what we do. We feel good about what we're doing with our own personal lives, because I think one thing that is very tricky is when you share your life on social media, as much as you do, we are very vulnerable with certain things. You always have to come back to yourself, right? And what feels good.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not the time to share certain things, right? Sometimes it's time to introvert and hermit and figure your shit out, and then come back and be like, here's what I learned, right?
Yeah. I think there's so many aspects of my life too that are like private that I don't share, but there's also a lot of me that I do share, that I'm very open, like whatever I think is going to serve people, things that I've been through, life lessons and whatnot. But yeah, there's a lot of aspects that like not everybody needs to know that.
Precisely.
But the one thing I was going to build on what you said about like, you need to have a destination, be okay with the destination changing, because it's going to, and learn to enjoy the journey than focusing on the destination. Because if you're just focused on the destination, then when you go through your metamorphosis and you're a caterpillar cocoon and you're in the, the messy middle or mushy, whatever you want to call it, if you're not okay with like changing the destination and you're so set on the destination, because again, you go through different seasons in life. If you don't learn to just like enjoy the journey of getting to said destination, and you're so fixated just on that destination, even when you get there, it's like, what now?
Yeah, exactly.
Even with the show, that was the goal for the time, but also when I was approaching that destination and enjoying the journey, because I did have a lot of fun in prep too. What is next? What's like the 30,000 foot out thing? Mm-hmm. Where am I going? Because for me, it was like prioritizing my overall health and trying to not let having that minimal body fat like mess with my mind. And I want that to be my expectation. So I'm like, realistically, where does the destination go to after like this pit stop or this landmark checkpoint, whatever you want to call
What are your thoughts for that? Because this is partly a coaching call, but also an interview at the same time. Do
Like
we?
where I'm going,
Yeah,
I
right?
think
Like,
we both know and decided that I like because I toyed with the idea of competing in
yes,
October. And
right.
at first, when I was like very much still in prep mindset and like so blinders on, focused on like executing to get to the thing, I was like, oh yeah, no problem. Like I'll just go right back to that and live my life like that. But after I took, a moment to breathe and let the mud settle and see clearly, like, what do I actually want in my life right now? And what do I want that to look like? I want to spend more time with my kids. I want to surf. I want to go out and enjoy meals with friends and not have to be so rigid, still prioritizing my health overall, but not the rigidity. Like both of those, again, earlier we were talking about goals and what you want, right? And what do you want most? Well, for me, I did the thing and that was like the thing that I wanted to do and I did it and I achieved it. And so it's like, what's next? In the moment, I was like, oh yeah, I'll go for my pro card. So I was like, what do you actually want that? No. Have you been leaving your business partner to handle all of the business for the last how many months? Yes. Do you want to continue to do that? No. Like these questions we ask ourselves, right? Like I used to journal stuff like that. Now it's like a conversation in my head. And so for me, focusing on more relationships and business versus like self. Like I just spent the last 6 months prioritizing me and everything that I needed. And the world really did revolve around me at that point and like meal prepping and packing meals in bags. And even if we are going to the beach, it's like, wait, I need to pack my sweet potatoes and chicken and like that much. I don't want I truly do not want that rigidness in my life at this moment. I want more. Like that's like more. I spent my season in masculine energy and willing my way through shit. And now it's more to like the creative, playful side of me again.
I love that. I
So
can't wait to see you. And we're going to talk more about that in person just because I'm dying to hear what that's
I
opened
might
up
change
for
my
you.
mind tomorrow, but
For real, I'm the same way. You never know. It could change tomorrow. Do you feel like you'll ever want to compete again?
that is something that I'm still like questioning and it depends what that season looks like because after I like okay let go of the idea that you're competing in October because it's keeping you in the tug of war of you don't actually want that but you're saying that you want that and then you're not behaving in the ways that you actually want that so what do you actually want so past October and like looking into maybe 2026 and when shows are and whatnot and see, closer to date, what's my focus at the time and like where am I sitting? Like I don't even have a house.
I
So
love
like
it.
I don't know where I'm gonna be, but that's
I
what I
mean,
value. And so I'm
autonomy.
a I don't know if you know anything about Enneagrams, but I'm a 7, which is
Yeah,
like
I'm
the
4.
enthusiast.
Mhm.
I like variety. I like the unknown. I like to have something to look forward to. Also, I like it. Like I'm very impulsive, I'll say, and
Mhm.
I value that about myself. It brings me joy. So we'll see. I'm like waiting to get past October, I feel like, and like that show date to pass me by, and then I'll
Yeah,
see where I'm at that point in life. I like we've got a lot of big stuff going on too. Like October is going to be a big month for us, and it's also my birth month, and
oh, I
which is
love that.
like the whole month long is my birthday.
Same. Mine's in June. We're
It's all
celebrating right
about
now.
me.
It's a party. I'm going to
There you go.
Mexico.
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
We'll celebrate your birthday while you're here every day.
Yep.
So yeah, it depends and I'll see.
Well, it's the beautiful thing is that there's bodybuilding shows all the time, right? This is always something you can decide. You might get the itch, just, wanting to get real focused. And I know for myself personally, I definitely did too many, but I did find that like once the new year hits and everybody's kind of in that like new energy of just the new year and everything, right? Like you're still fit in fitness, you're still doing all the things. But then when everybody else is just kind of like getting on the wagon, you're like, I could use a little bit of focus and maybe I want to do a show. And that tends to be why we see like a pickup in coaching, at least for bodybuilding around
Mm-hmm.
that time, because it makes sense. But it's always there, right? And I think the time
Yeah.
off in between is super important for you to just recalibrate and get your menstrual cycle, your mindset, all the things,
Yeah.
and be in a different.
Yeah. And like my habits and rituals on a day-to-day basis are of like health and prioritizing
Right.
me and my health and even like my kids' health and stuff like that. Like I behave in ways that make it easy for me that if I wanted to compete, it's not like, oh shit, like we have to build muscle for you first before like
Exactly.
you on a competition timeline is like 2 years out. We're not doing that in 12 weeks. Whereas I'm more, and I mean that in like we have people that reach out that are like, I want to compete. I saw you compete. And first of all, I'm not a bodybuilding coach. Like if you want that, here's one for you. We coach more like lifestyle women that just want to like lose 20 pounds and feel better and more confident, right? So that type of woman is generally not currently living a lifestyle that's like 12 weeks out from stage. Whereas I am closer to being at least 6 months out from stage. Maybe closer, slightly closer at this point, but
no,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, this was lovely. I appreciate your time. I know you have the world to go rule. So, and we have some catching up to do with more things on where you're at. So we'll do this off the air and when you have some time to breathe. And I'll see you next week.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. I think that a lot of our values and mindset around everything lines up. And I'm glad your podcast walked into my life that one day when I was out getting steps and wanting to grow my glutes.
Butt stuff. It gets them every time. I don't know what to tell you.
Exactly.
All right, fine. Well, you have a beautiful day.
Good place to end.
Exactly. You have a beautiful day and we will catch up on WhatsApp. Okay. Bye. All right, you guys, thank you so much for listening. Did you enjoy this episode? I know that some of you are here and you do already follow the both of us, which is awesome. So if there's any other guests that you feel would be fun for me to interview on the podcast, I'm always open to suggestions. You know, if you're following me over on Instagram, you can pop into my DMs and shoot me some suggestions. That'd be great. But in the meantime, make sure to go follow Xtine. She's got really great content, lots of educational stuff, mindset stuff, and she really loves to just share behind the scenes kind of what's going on with her own fitness journey as well as her clients. So make sure to check that out. And of course, if you want results like Xtine, you know where to find me. The link is in the bio. The Iconic Coaching Academy is our signature program, and that's exactly what'll get you the dream body, the dream mindset around your body, and stepping into whatever version that looks like for you. And that does not need to include competing, because we coach real women from all walks of life. And we would love to have you. And if you like this episode, share it with a friend, because, you know, sharing is caring, and that's how we grow the podcast and keep showing up for you guys and giving you all the juicy stuff. I love you, and I'll see you soon.